I'm a 3D artist, and in this video, I turned video games into ridiculously over-engineered LEGO sets, and even got a real LEGO designer to rate them from 1 to 10. And we're starting with the Minecraft Desert Temple. LEGO already has about 300 Minecraft LEGO sets, but none of those are a desert temple, which I always thought was weird. So I started building this tower segment referencing the exact dimensions in-game. LEGO might be okay with a circular cake, but this is what I live and breathe, so it's gonna be done right. I finished designing the tower, and it did take longer than I wanted, especially since I'm planning to build 9 sections, but at least it's finally done. I then spent 2 hours redesigning the whole thing just to get rid of the lines between the plates. This project is gonna ruin my life, isn't it? Speaking of perfectionism, how would you build a Minecraft stair block? Doesn't matter, because this is the only way to do it. Half of a block is exactly 2.5 plate depths, and this model is probably the optimal method. There's a couple other things I added, like a removable roof so you can mess around in here. There's a staircase that goes up the tower, but when I built this corridor, I realized the reason LEGO doesn't do it this way is because it's not up to scale for minifigures. Unfortunately, there's no going back, so I'm gonna pretend it's not a problem. I copied the whole first section and flipped it to get the second tower, and started working on the other sections. The vast majority of them were pretty easy compared to the tower pieces. Most of it is just a pyramid after all. The hardest part was just making sure it was 100% accurate. I don't know why I felt the need to do that, but I spent hours locking down the perfect layout, the perfect dimensions, the perfect colors. All the sections are so easy to take apart to see the interior. We got that pattern on the floor, the columns are all there block for block, and with that, we are 13 modules and 2,000 or 3,000 pieces in. That's pretty insane, and it would cost like $200 already, but it is the most accurate desert temple model I could find. Well, except for the TNT trap, we still gotta add that. Wait, how is that gonna work? So it turns out that you can't just add a 20 block column to the bottom of a LEGO set without devastating consequences. What, are they just supposed to have it hanging off the table? Is it gonna balance like this? Maybe it comes separately? Absolutely not. I said I was gonna do this right, and I'm gonna see it through. To make the TNT trap accurately, it has to be more than twice the original height, so I started building out a skeletal structure with Technic pieces to hold everything up. There's columns on every side except the front, so the trap is visible. Then I spent like a whole hour just adding more pieces for stability. This thing is gonna be super tall, but it's also gonna be super heavy since I made the base model 3,000 pieces like an idiot. Throw in another hour of adding random stability pieces, and the final structure is supported at 7 different points. Next, I built this giant floor on top of everything, and it's finally ready to combine with the original. The whole thing is basically a giant desert with these holes all over the ground to put the temple pieces on. Does it line up perfectly? It does line up perfectly, first try. The question is how stable this would be, and the answer is trust me, bro. I like where this is going, but it's a bit too square around the edges, so I started building out this randomized terrain around the whole thing, but I got mad and gave up after the front half took like 2 hours. So instead I started making this TNT mechanism that uses this hidden double claw setup to blow up the walls when you step on a pressure plate. It's all crammed under the floor here, and I even made the pressure plate exactly 1 pixel above the ground, just like the game. There's also these spots on each side to put a chest, but LEGO doesn't really have a good 2x2 chest, and believe me, I tried, okay? You would not believe how many variations of this I tried. I've done some messed up things with Legos. This is borderline impossible. There are bigger things to worry about though, especially considering that 90% of this set is emptier than your average open world game. I mean, you could just make it out of clear bricks and call it good, but we're up to like $500 for this thing, so we gotta make it worth the money. My idea is to build a cave system under the temple with mine shafts, a cave base, multiple layers, starting with the floor, which I built out of like 300 more pieces of randomized terrain. I locked in and just started building block by block, avoiding making flat walls as much as possible, but when I looked at the progress and I looked at how much was left, I said no thanks and then quit for like 5 months. I'm not kidding, this was filmed like half a year ago, but I couldn't live with myself, so I came back to it. I blocked out every single section. Mineshaft goes here, player base goes here. I even designed this slime bridge mechanism for the base entrance using gears and those tooth plates. Love the tooth plates. This here is supposed to be a lava lake. It's even got lava spilling over the edge of the set to make it feel more natural. This here is a ledge that connects the bridge to the main area, which has a river that also goes over the edge. It's surprisingly hard to build blocks that look random, not to mention like 10,000 of them. Forget the floor, what about the 7 pillars that should probably be hidden? What about the ceiling? Now it's the same thing but upside down. I was shockingly close to another 4-month depression hiatus, but I finally got it done, and now we gotta color everything. Awesome. If I'm gonna get through this without crashing out again, I'm gonna need to focus, so I whipped up this mechanical lockbox real quick, threw my phone in, and threw the key out. That was really dumb. The box is from KiwiCo. They sell some of the best hands-on engineering project kits for kids of all ages. Big thanks to them for sponsoring. The kits come with everything you need down to the tools. Check this out, I didn't even need to get my screwdriver. Sometimes the best way to learn is by doing. That's kind of what I do all day. In this case, we built a real 3-pin tumbler lock down to the individual springs and a key which Where is that thing? The instructions themselves have a ton of cool details on the history and the science of what you're making. And it's not just this, they've got tons of these things. Build a printing press, build a robot, build a solar system, learn a million little things and get a cool gadget while you're at it. Hey look, it even matches my desk. So if you like science, engineering, laws of physics, that kind of thing, or maybe some family members that do, check out KiwiCo using my link in the description to get 50% off your first monthly crate using code Daniel at checkout. That's enough of that, let's get back to the video. Honestly, it could have been worse. Most of it is just gray for stone minus the diorite and granite deposits everywhere. For the mine shafts, I went with the same color scheme LEGO uses for their sets and even rebuilt them to support the official LEGO minecart build. It's even got a waterfall running over it. Maybe we could put a glow squid right here. For the base, I'm going with a wooden floor on top and a checkered floor in the basement. There are uglier base designs made by children, but I'm losing patience, so for the ore deposits, I just yoinked LEGO's design and added a couple more, like this copper variant. Now, LEGO tends to suggest about one minifigure per 200 pieces, so I just put like 50 random mobs all over the place, and it's finally starting to feel like a real Minecraft set. So for the final details, I added this enchantment setup in the basement with a cauldron and brewing stand, a balcony, a ladder, torches everywhere, cacti and dead bushes up top, and that is how I accidentally designed the biggest LEGO Minecraft set yet released, and finally realized why LEGO did not make this set. The final set comes out to about 8,500 pieces, which is 3 times larger than the biggest LEGO Minecraft set of all time. Its footprint is measured in square feet, and it would weigh 1 or 2 dozen pounds. It wasn't worth it, and I only did it out of spite. LEGO usually prefers small sets, like this Plants vs. Zombies diorama I made that comes with the first 8 plants, a few zombies, a house. You can even play it like a board game. And so many people have asked to give me money for it that I finally gave in and decided to put it up on LEGO Ideas. Basically, that means if a design gets 10,000 votes, LEGO will actually consider making it a real set. So I locked in, made a bunch of product quality renders. Don't ask about this one. Does your idea contain violence? And there it is. The chance this actually works out is slim, but if you want this set to be real, now's the time. Go vote for it. For my next game, I decided to go with Pokemon. LEGO already said they're doing this, so let's see if I can do better or worse. Now, my plan is to make everything in minifigure scale, but there's a couple reasons that's basically impossible. I started out with Bulbasaur. Now, in all honesty, LEGO would probably make this as a mold, but I didn't think of that, so I started trying every conceivable combination of pieces, usually built around a faceplate on the front, but the details is where it starts to get sketchy. What is this, lipstick for the ears? I settled on a pretty simple design, which is still way too big, but he's got adjustable legs, swiveling neck. That's about it, actually. I ripped someone's phone wallpaper to make the face decal, and that is without a doubt the scariest, most uncanny Bulbasaur I think I've ever seen. Well, okay, maybe not the worst. Next, I started on Diglett. This one's pretty easy, clocking in at a bodacious 3 pieces. I made the decal manually for this one. You got the dome piece with the eyes, and the cylinder piece with the... No. It's been 5 years, leave me alone. This is probably one of the best things I've ever designed, but you haven't seen anything yet. This here is supposed to be oddish, 4 pieces this time, really pushing the budget here. Something about this decal doesn't sit right with me. It feels like my soul is being examined by an uncaring, unforgiving entity. It's kind of chill though. Staryu, that's a starfish, like literally just a starfish with a gold circle on top. Decal goes on, brilliant. Where's the difference? There isn't one. For Voltorb, I just used these inverted sphere caps, copy paste the eyes on there, and it's done. Ever since Bulbasaur, I've kind of just been picking the easy ones, so to cap things off, I decided to make Porygon. This one's kind of hard to translate to LEGO because of the extremely precise and detailed shapes, but LEGO has enough angular pieces to get the job done. I even gave him this swiveling head and tail. It's only 9 pieces, but this is probably my favorite one out of the set. And finally, for Pikachu, nah, I don't want to make that. Just make the rat yellow or something. With that, we've got a pretty decent variety of Pokemon here, so I started working on the diorama. My plan is to basically make a Poke Center from the games with a bunch of these things scattered all over the place. I ended up going with this tiled floor pattern. There's a lot of references to pick from here since there's like 100 games, so I'm going to be mixing them together a lot. Next, I made this rounded counter out of these giant red bricks. That should leave barely enough room back there, fingers crossed. This here is supposed to be a shelf based on the version from Fire Red or Leaf Green. When your game franchise looks like a family tree, you've gone too far, okay? Next, I made the healing machine itself. It's a pretty basic build and supports up to 6 slots just like in the games. Does it fit behind the counter? No, it does not. Move it on up, I guess. It looks pretty nice in here, but it's still pretty sparse, so I added this TV on the wall. It's even got adjustable wall mounting just like real life, and I guess the PC can go over here on the right. Next, I added these posters all over the wall. I'm kind of freehanding it now since I'm running out of references to copy off of. I guess I could use a bench, maybe some plants, maybe even one of those light fixtures to light up the posters. Really livens up the place, I think. To finish it up, I ripped out half the wall and replaced it with bricks to break up the whole monotonous theme of it all. Hung up a clock, put a table down, and I think we're ready to go. I ended up putting most of the Pokemon just sitting on the floor or table or something. Voltorb is supposed to float, so I anchored him to the wall here. Oddish is a plant, so let's just put him in the jar, I think. Pikachu, probably just hide that under the table. Throw in some basic decals for the posters and the TV and the healing thing. And you know what? I think I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. The final set comes out to 300 pieces, which usually equates to about 30 bucks. However, this is Pokemon we're talking about. I'd be surprised if it didn't cost 70. But that's just my opinion. What really matters is that it was finally time for the expert to judge my work. Before I get roasted today, I made a few small things while I was bored. Crossy Road, for example. Other people try to make this chicken all the time, but it's usually way too big. Cubes are just hard to get right at a smaller scale. Believe me, I just made like 10,000 of them. But I got the shape blocked out pretty easily. The real place to get tripped up is the details. Like, should the eyes be high or low? I think low is more accurate, but there's this evil vibe to it that I can't quite put my finger on. Next, I decided to add flappable wings, and this is where it stopped being a simple project and started being a nightmare. I also wanted every mechanism to be completely covered, so there's that to worry about. Don't even get me started on the legs. I rebuilt this thing like 3 times out of forks before I decided I'd learned my lesson and moved on. I also made this Nintendo Switch 2 since the real one costs more than a used car, starting with the new Joy-Cons, which I made with this inverted hollow design. That way the bumpers can slot here in the middle and actually bump. It's a little thick to be a Joy-Con, especially when you add all the buttons and everything, but it makes up for that by being way uglier and blockier. This here is supposed to be the screen made out of the metallic pieces so you get that sheen on it. And the screen is even hollow too, so the Joy-Cons can just, maybe it could work like a sleeve for the actual device since you're probably paying a similar price for it considering the average cost of a Lego set. But that's enough messing around. I'm not showing these to the Lego designer, okay? I'm sorry.
When you first said Minecraft, I didn't have my hopes up just because, you know, I think it's a pretty difficult property to make interesting out of Lego because it makes it hard to kind of create interesting shapes. I really was impressed with this one. There was a really clear flow from the temple on the top all the way throughout the model from any direction. Just kind of the planning and your use of different colors and different textures to break up the pitfall that I think Minecraft sets can tend to have. The temple itself, I think, is kind of the least interesting part of the whole model. I think the best part of it is everything underneath, which isn't a bad thing. I think for this one, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I love that you made all the characters brick built. I think it was Bulbasaur. That's like the trickiest one. I think Bulbasaur is like one of the more recognizable. You kind of run the risk of like the Uncanny Valley type of situation. Since you didn't include a facade for the building, maybe it would have been on the front of the building like that Pokeball shape, but your choice to use a rounded desk, I think, was a clever way to bring some of the symbols to make it recognizable as a Pokemon build and not just like a red and white room. The first thing I noticed right away is I didn't see any studs, and that's a choice. It makes it look really clean, and I do like that. I would love to see like just a couple studs on the floor or on parts of the build where you might want to be able to stick one of those characters on. And so for this one, I would give it a 7 out of 10.
With that, I successfully impressed the Lego designer, but this isn't over until it's 10s every single time. See ya.